Hi, I'm Nick Thomas. Welcome back to the Academy of Historical Fencing. I'm here today to talk about the new Koning glove. Now, gloves have been kind of a hot topic for HEMA for a long time about getting the right product, and it is incredibly important. A lot of people underestimate kind of the requirements for hand protection when you're using swords, whether they're synthetic or steel, at full contact or high contact levels. You do need very good protection, no doubt about it. And the Koning is one of the new heavy gloves on the market. And they came out, the first generation was, I think, mostly around about the middle of last year or just onwards. And this is the new slimline generation. The new black model is smaller, lighter, and a few other changes tweaked here and there over the first generation. I showed the first generation when it turned up, and I only kept it for about a month, and I then sold on to one of our members because the levels of protection were good, but I had some issues with it. Largely that it was just too large. Is that the length was kind of okay. I've got a medium-sized hand. I wear medium gloves in every type of glove that you can think of. And although the length was okay, the width was really an issue, and it kind of split my fingers apart like this, which led to cramp and just nastiness in the hand that wasn't particularly pleasant. So I had some issues with those, as well as the fact that they were so big that they didn't really work with a lot of the weapons I really want to use, like, saber, for example, which I love. So, the new generation. Well, first of all, obviously they're black, which I think is an improvement, but that's personal choice. There are a few other differences. The sort of palm is different, the line is a bit different, the outer leather is very different. It's supposed to be kind of pre-worn in, if you like, and softer than the first pattern, the kind of smooth leather you saw on the brand stuff. This is kind of like a mottled type of leather, which it is softer. But the primary difference really is that the width is down to, I think it was something like, I can't remember exactly now, it was about 13 centimetres on this one as opposed to about 15 on the larger one. So they've scaled down the width, which was a big problem in the first generation. And there's a few little tweaks in design here and there. So how's it gone so far? Now this is a first impressions video because I haven't had these long. In fact, I've only used them sparring for one session. So it is a first impressions video. So you're going to have to take that in mind. And I'll do another video. I don't know, it's going to take a while to kind of break them in and get a full opinion on what I think of them in the medium term. So hopefully I'll do another video in a month or two, I would say. It should be enough. So far, they're not as small as I was hoping they would be, and they don't fit any of my sabers. I've got, at the moment I'm using my swordsmithy saber, I've got my Wojciech Shanek, which is my kind of Shamshir type, and I've got a Regeni bull hilt, which is to our specification, and it doesn't fit in any of those, which is a bit of a shame because we use a lot of weapons at the club, but personally this saber is one of my favourites, and they can't get in any of those. Now, of course, those swords have all been basically made to order, so you could have grips lengthened. And I know, say, the Eastern model of saber that Regeni used to make, and it's now the strong saber is the sort of closest equivalent. The grip length and the hilt size is massive on it, so I think it's probably likely that you would fit this in one of those bull hilts because the grip is just huge. And I will try that because at least one of our members does have one of those. So I'll give that a shot. But at the moment, my 3 steel sabers, you can't get this glove in. Even softened up more, I just don't think there's any chance of it going in. It's pretty much impossible. So that's a bit of a shame. Going on, I used them for one session, sparred for maybe 10 or 15 minutes. I did some drills as well. They're very stiff at the moment. I know the wear-in time is kind of supposed to be more pre-broken in on the material. Well, they are a little bit better on the outer material than the first generation, although the breaking process is still going to be an absolute swine, and that is very clear from day one, is that when I got them they were incredibly stiff. I keep sitting here flexing them when I'm at work or at home doing this kind of thing, and I'm trying to basically use water and all kinds of things to soften them up. And no, they're going to take a lot of time to wear in. Probably, I would say, realistically, about the same as the first generation, even though there are a few things that are better. What else? The weight, obviously, they're a bit smaller, so they've come down in weight, but it's only a relatively modest saving, is that the original was 600 grams per glove, and the new generation is 530. So it's a bit of a weight saving. But to put into perspective, a Red Dragon glove is somewhere around about 180 grams, something like that. A Neyman Eagle Montoya Heavy is about 300. So at 530, you're still talking about a very heavy glove. And I know for some people doing longsword, they're not so bothered by that. But doing, I did some arming sword fighting, and I also do a lot of sabre. That's a lot of weight. When you think average Napoleonic infantry sabre is about 7 to 750 grams, so to add 530 onto your hand, that brings a Napoleonic infantry sabre up to the weight of a Scottish broadsword. So an awful lot of weight. Right, moving on, protection levels. Well, the protection levels haven't changed from the first generation to this generation, so as I said back then, they are very impressive. And I did take a pretty much full power strike in sword and buckler, so this finger here, it's kind of cut into the leather. And there was no injury and no pain as such. I felt the impact and no pain at all. So, and that's on the actual fingertip. So that would have been quite a nasty hit. Protection levels are very, very good. Pretty much as close as you get to a mitten, I would say. So that is impressive. What else? As I said, it's really difficult at this stage because they're not broken in. I've used them as much as I possibly can at this stage, but the first session I used them, they really cut into my fingers and cut deep, and I was bleeding for a while on that, so I couldn't use them the session after because even though I was plastered up, they were still just constantly wearing my finger down and just bleeding again. So I think probably this week I'll get back to using them again. But yeah, the wearing is going to be, the breaking in of them is going to be a swine. It's feeling a bit better right now, but the palm material is very, very thick, so the grip is okay, but there's a lot of material there on the palm and the fingertips. So yeah, you got a lot more feeling than say the hard fingers on the sparring gloves, which I'm really not a fan of. So you got a lot more feeling than that, but there's still a lot of fabric there. At least the fingers aren't separated apart because of the width from the first generation, so that's good. But at this stage, they are still really, really hard, really tight, and very hard to grip with. And they are wearing very heavily on my fingers. So I don't know what the breaking time is going to be to kind of stop that. And no, I can't fit in a glove in. I have the most slimline gloves you can possibly get, and they won't fit inside this kind of glove. So that doesn't really help. So you've got to plaster or tape up the parts that are cutting in. You can move the plates around inside a little bit, but I'm finding that wherever I position them, they still cut in. We're going to have to see how that goes over time. So at this stage, I would say, bearing in mind that I'm not actually happy with any other 5-fingered glove that's on the market, so it's not like I'm saying I think there's something better than it, but at this stage, they're bigger than I was hoping for, and the weight is still an issue for a lot of things that I do as well. It's a lot of weight to have on the hand. The protection is fantastic, and if they softened up, if they really properly softened up and allowed me to grip properly, they could be quite good for an open hilt sword and buckler fight, and also longsword as well. So that's a possibility, and I'm going to see how they go. So as I said, it's not by no means a thorough review because it is just first impressions, but at this stage I would say they are heavy, they don't fit in everything I wanted them to, and I am a little bit concerned about the break-in, but we're going to see how they go. I will use them more and more in time over the next few weeks. So yeah, there's the new Koning glove. Definitely seems an improvement over the first generation, or is an improvement over the first generation, but we're going to have to wait and see how they go in the long run. And that's it for now, I think. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you haven't subscribed, please do so.